Dr. Anthony Elias. Oh, and I quickly look around and see some of your ministers looking to figure out what I'm going to be telling you. Mr. Prime Minister, my schoolmate Derek preceded me, and I was very happy when he talked about you having, basically, using my words, that you're having a long life to continue what you're doing. I would wish you the same, Mr. Prime Minister, and I would openly say, where you have...
So that is the condition under which I'll have this long life?
Sorry?
I don't accept the terms, eh?
Okay.
I will accept the wish of a long life, but I don't accept the terms under which you're offering it.
Okay, Mr. Prime Minister, you just said it, that you've led a government which has not refused to take hard decisions, as unpopular as they are. I don't intend to ask any question, but rather to make a suggestion. In the last week, I have been exposed to 5 persons who have gotten the land and housing tax. 2 of them are my neighbors. I haven't gotten mine yet. And what is rather strange is that the one with the smaller house, with the lesser land, has been assessed at a way higher figure than the older house with the greater amount of land, which is in a better condition. My recommendation, sir, is that I would hate to think, and I'm very open about it, that this land tax can cause a possibility that your government may be voted out of power. And I would really, really not have to live with what is out there for me as compared to what I have right now. So my recommendation is, there must have been so far, or there will be a lot of people objecting. My suggestion is, rather than invoke the entire tax, maybe we should start at 50%. Those who object and those who are sorted out with an incremental increase of maybe 10% every year, because it's going to be easier for people to work with that, rather than having to face this brunt one time. In a sense, it was done with gasoline, with fuel. While the rises were a little steep, they were graded in. And you don't have to convince me why you have to put in the tax. I understand, I accept it. I think most people do. But unfortunately, to suddenly have to find yourself paying 6, 7, 8, 9,000, people are not comfortable. So it's just a recommendation that I'd like to make to you to consider.
Thank you very much for your recommendation. People of Trinidad and Tobago, I speak to you as an office holder, as a citizen. And all I will ask of you, before you get your anger boiled up, your choice of where you'll put your finger election day and so on, before you do that, let us agree that we would look at it like other things with a certain amount of fact, a certain amount of reason, and a certain amount of self-interest. The removal of land and building taxes. This has been going on for how many years, Minister of Finance? Since 2009. Right? It is 15 years that a tax that you were required to pay, that is on the law books, you have not been asked to pay it. 15 years. I have not heard one person compute how much you have saved and not paid for 15 years. To come to what is required now to begin to collect the tax, we have gone through a number of computations to get to a point where we've said that we will levy a tax that is affordable. Yes, it is difficult to go to every single house and do a valuation, as we had to do in most cases. The two houses you mentioned, one might be small, one might be big, one plot might be bigger than the other. But the formula is based on the rentable value. So the bigger house may not be able to command as attractive a rent as a prettier, nicer, cleaner, smaller house. But in the same neighborhood, they should be in the same ballpark, if not identical. And that's why the role would be a public document and that adjustments could be made. And I will tell you, provision in the law is there for if a person genuinely believes that the valuation, that rentable value, is out of whack, that you can go make a complaint to the tribunal, but it's in a system of comply and complain. Because if we say complain and don't pay, then everybody will not play and complain. But if it's a system of comply and complain, you pay it, you're complaining, the tribunal will look at it. And if the tribunal reviews it, then you get a credit towards the next year's tax. That's the system. I am not one to believe that it is the best thing to ask people to pay tax. But the way this tax is being held up as a burden, I think it is a little overdone. Especially if after 15 years you have been given that break. And when you had said to me, well, now is not the right time, I know what that means. It will never be the right time. Never. And if in fact there are situations where the system has generated extraordinary burdens, there's provision there for that to be looked at in a proper way and to be adjusted in the most reasonable way by the authority which is appointed by the president. So we're not acting vice versa. And many people are still mistaking the valuation as the tax. The valuation figure that you'd be given there in thousands, that is the rentable valuation. The tax is 3% of that. And those tax calls are now going out. Starting when? Last Friday. So the actual tax that is required to be paid, given that all the complaints you've been hearing, those would have been complaints about the valuation. Before this attempt to collect at 3%, London building taxes was 7.5%. We don't have time now to go into it because we've gone over it 100 times, but there are some people in our society who are deliberately misrepresenting it. Before, the full value at 7.5% was the tax. We are now saying 3% of the rentable value. So I know nobody likes to pay tax. But if that is the basis on which we will change the government and put it in the hands of other people who will wreck and ruin the country, let it be said that it would have been done with your eyes wide open.